28 years later, Bone Temple really picked up from where it last left off on the predecessor of 28 years, and I feel like they did a really good job. There was it was a lot smoother ride compared to 28 years later, because 28 years later felt very jarring in some of the scenes with the World War II sort of symbolism when they were firing arrows. And then at the end, when we had this really somber, emotional scenes with the mum passing away, and then Spike meeting the Jimmies, and they all turn out to be like Ninja Power Rangers. And it was just kind of like a what the hell is going on moment. And then also with the bullet time sort of events that we had in 28 years later, they completely got rid of that in Bone Temple. And overall, it made it a much nicer, smoother ride for the entire movie. I felt like Spike was such a good character as well. He obviously is going into the Jimmy cult, and to be part of that cult, he has to kill one of the other Jimmy members, which he does, but he didn't want to. He's like doing it against his own will. And you can see all the sort of emotions in his face of him not wanting to do that or be a part of this. He's constantly trying to think of ways to get away from the cult, but he's trapped. He can't get out. So they end up taking over this village. We have these 3 members of the village. They go out to forage for food and such, and they end up getting one of their members thinks it's best to kill one of the zombies in case it calls out for other zombies nearby. And so he's like, if I do it this quickly, then it'd be a lot safer bet. But it ends up backfiring, and the zombie spots him coming up to him, and then calls out for more. So they end up getting overthrown by zombies, and they have to leg it. And there's a pregnant woman and another kid who they just run and leave him to his demise. He gets killed by all the zombies, and then they get to the village, and that's where the Jimmies are. And the Jimmies essentially terrorize the village and kill these people. And they keep saying about charity, and there's mention of Teletubbies, because there was the very first scene, I think, of 28 years later when Jimmy and all the other kids are watching the Teletubbies. So Jimmy is very much obsessed with that TV show, and you can tell with these with all the constant mentions of it during this village moment. And then there's this building which gets burnt down. Some of the Jimmies die. The main Jimmy Crystal, he's very mad. He wants Spike to go after the pregnant woman because she's the one who killed one of the Jimmies. So he runs over, but he obviously doesn't want to kill her. He doesn't want to be a part of the cult. So he asks her, take me with you. And she makes it look like she's going to, and then she just kicks him and he gets down. She runs off. We don't actually know where she goes, which is a shame. It would have been nice to know more about her story and what happens to her. But yeah, then Spike comes back with his tail between his legs, and it's like, she got no. He lied and basically said, I killed her, but there's no body. And then Jimmy's like, well, where's the body? I left it in the woods. I'm guessing it's in a really dark place where you can't find her. And he's like, yep. And then he was like, why can't you just get a piece of her to say that you killed her? And then Jimmy gets really mad at him. And Kelly, who's one of the Jimmies, she walked away, and she found Dr. Ian Kelson, who we know from the first 28 years later. He had red skin, and he was not talking, but dancing with the alpha Samson, because Samson has got this addiction to the morphine that Dr. Kelson was blowing pipes in. He was blowing morphine pipes into Samson 28 years later. And in this one, he kind of notices that Samson actually wants the morphine to be injected in him. So he's it started to inject him more often with the morphine and they get this sort of like more humanized connection with one another. They're sort of like lying down together. They're talking, or the Dr. Ian Kelson is talking to Samson, but Samson can't actually respond back because he's still in his rage-inducing zombie state. And Ian is kind of like, what if there is still some sort of human inside of you? Like, could we actually fix you, but bring you back to normal? So yeah, he's like having more human interactions with Samson, and there's a part where he's dancing with him, and that's when Kelly, Jimmy, finds them, and then she comes back, to Jimmy Crystal, who's the main cult leader, and says, "I have found Saint Nick, who is the devil. They worship the devil because they're Satanists." And then he's like, "Oh yeah, show me, prove it." So then they go off to find Saint Nick, and that's why Spike doesn't get killed or anything, because he was about to, but then they go off to this journey to see the devil, or who they believe is the devil. And then Jimmy goes down to speak with him because he's like, I should go down and speak with him because I'm the leader. He's my father. He doesn't. If we spook him, he'll kill all of you, kind of thing. So he goes down, he speaks with him, finds out he's not actually Saint Nick, and he's just a doctor. But then he's like, well, I need you to make a deal because those Jimmys over there, they believe you're the devil, and I need them to believe that you are. So he then they make this deal. He goes back to his other Jimmy cult and says like, yeah, we can go meet him tomorrow. And then we see Dr. Ian Kelson do all this like preparation, and it's really, really, really cool preparation. He gets like Iron Maiden, Number of the Beast, and there's so much like flames and stuff when the Jimmys come down to meet him. He puts on this massive performance where there's just fire, there's a ring of fire, and he's got like this suit and he's got fire on him, and it's just really, really cool performance. Like, it was probably one of the best scenes in the movie. And then like he says, to be part of the Jimmy, or to what was it, to be to make sure you don't die, like the devil doesn't kill you, you have to do all these different things that Jimmy basically wanted him to say. And it was like really awful things as well, like you're allowed to kill people, give charity, all this stuff. And then Ian realizes that Spike is a part of the Jimmy gang, and is like, oh, he then says, there is one more thing, you need to let me have this boy. And then Jimmy's like, no, you can't. He's part of my gang. Like, it was not happening. And then there's this sort of massive fight between the other Jimmys, and the doctor. And the doctor gets stabbed by Jimmy Crystal. So Jimmy Crystal is about to kill Kelly, Jimmy. And then Spike goes on to stab Jimmy I think it was just like in the stomach. So it wasn't fatal. It was just enough to injure him. And also something I missed was Ian blew drugs into each of their faces at the start before he did his big like show with all the fire and everything to pretend that he's the devil. So then they put him on the upside down cross. There's an upside down cross at the Bone Temple that Ian built as part of the show. And because he's on drugs, Samson comes along, who Ian gave psychotic drugs to. That's another part I missed. So Ian gave psychotic drugs to Samson to make him more humanized. And that actually works. He becomes more human and he tries to help Ian. I think by this point, the Kelly and Spike have run away. And yeah, so it was all really, really cool. My God, Jimmy Crystal sees Samson with like the devil horns and stuff. It's just really, really cool scenery. And then at the end, you see like another village. There's this man and daughter, and I'm pretty sure it's the man from 28 Days. I could be wrong. But yeah, he's back. And then you see Kelly and Spike being chased by a horde of zombies, and they go out and they're about to help. And then that's the end of Bone Temple. And overall, I felt like it was like a much, much better movie. It was very well paced. The storyline was fantastic. The acting and everything was incredible. I would say if you enjoyed 28 Years Later, you would definitely enjoy Bone Temple. If you felt like 28 Years Later was a bit of a miss, I think you should still go watch Bone Temple because it just picks up really well. And I feel like they learned from some of the mistakes they did in the previous one and just upped it to a whole new level. It's very fun. Definitely watch it if you're into the 28 franchise. And yeah, those are just my thoughts. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like the video, subscribe if you want to see more, and I'll see you next one. Goodbye.